Could you tell me some products that you know that NOV has?
Well, we have a lot of drilling tools. From rig all the way to...
We do everything. We have cable lay systems. We have cable.
There's a lot of valves that we have, and plugs, and the BHA, and a lot of things downhole.
Fibers engine performance optimizer.
Power sections, robotics, Atom RTX.
Yeah, sensors, drilling equipment, of course.
Still learning about things that we do that I've been here 12 years and I still didn't know.
When you work at a company like NOV, one whose products quite literally span across an entire industry, it can be easy to feel overwhelmed. Whether you're a new employee trying to find your footing, or maybe you've been here for 10 years but have worked only on a specific product, it's easy to look at something so large and wonder, where do I fit in? And every day, more and more of our customers are asking the same question. How does NOV fit into our plans on a larger, more full coverage scale? Well, I have good news for you. There are teams across the company right now connecting these very dots, answering clients with a handshake and the assurance that not only do our products speak for themselves, they also speak to each other. Now, before I lose you, this podcast is not a sales pitch of our products. I'm here to tell you about those teams I mentioned, made up of real people across the globe who are doing the dot connecting. It's through their stories that we hope you are inspired to find opportunities for greatness in your own corners of the company. This is DNA of NOV. Our first episode of the DNA of NOV podcast brings us to Norway, where a team has assembled to answer the call of a powerful operator in the North Sea, Aker BP. To understand the full story, we met up with them in Stavanger.
So it's history. I wasn't kidding.
So can you tell me about the first facility you were going to?
So we're going to the west side of Stavanger, at the tip of the North Sea, basically. That's Tuboscope. So Tuboscope.
The voice you just heard is Mats Andersen. Mats is our main point of contact for the story, and coincidentally, he's also the main NOV point of contact for Aker BP. As the VP of Global Technical Sales for MD Totco, you'll hear from him a lot this episode. He was our tour guide of sorts in Stavanger, pointing out both monuments and sports teams, but also showing us around at different facilities and introducing us to the dream team that has been assembled in Norway. Before I introduce you to that team, I want to back up a little bit. I've mentioned that Aker BP is partnering with us on a monumental project. So you may be asking, okay, what is it already? In the simplest terms, they want it all. Not one product from this brand and another from that brand, but instead just one solution from NOV that will combine the forces of our rig, downhole, and digital teams. In this instance, it really all comes down to data. In the words of our VP of Strategic Accounts, Riam Johnson, the data that you collect ultimately informs the actions you take. That's it, right there. On the downhole side, you're collecting data using sensors all along the bottom hole assembly that send information in real time back up to the driller. This was previously unheard of in the industry prior to their creation. In our marketing, you'll hear us talk about these sensors as, quote, turning the lights on downhole. And that's because that's pretty much what they're doing. We're going from a shot in the dark to exact information. And what do we do with that information? Enter Novos on the rig side of the business. They take the reins of the operation once it's back on the drill floor and say, okay, you have this information, here's what you should do with it. That's where our story lies. The dance between the data collectors and the data action takers is taking place right now in Norway for our client, Aker BP. As promised, I'd like to introduce you to the team, with a slight caveat that you're about to hear a ton of names, but not for nothing. This team is doing amazing work. I'd even call it game-changing. And by the way, if you're more of a visual learner, there's photos from behind the scenes featuring everyone you'll hear from today on NOV.com/DNA. Feel free to follow along with the story there. Now, let's head downhole first to find out a little more on those data collectors.
Yeah, my name is Erik Van Wyk. I'm the operations manager for DBS in Europe. So I've been working with Wire Drill Pipe now for 9 years. I'm leading all of the projects in the North Sea and in Europe. So there had been some discussions a couple of years back where we were seeing the performance not only with Aker BP, but a couple of other high-performing rigs in the North Sea. So we went on Deepsea Atlantic, Deepsea Aberdeen, and also, of course, on Nordkapp, which was the first Aker BP rig. And on these other rigs with the same drilling contractor, Odfjell, we saw a new level of performance. They were handling the system really well from the beginning, and they were perfecting it. So we didn't have to tell them, like, take care of the pipe, take care of the system. They were starting to improve Novus as well. These are the rigs that has the Novus records right now. So they were seeing this as a challenge, not a problem. Like a complexity, they saw, okay, this is a system that can make us go quicker. Like going away from your old internet to fiber internet, yeah, you don't know what to do with it in the very beginning. But they started picking up on it. And Aker BP then called in for a couple of meetings to look technically at our system.
Quick definition. Wired drill pipe is pipe used in drilling operations that sends data in real time directly to the drill floor. It consists of wires insulated inside drill pipe and signal repeaters placed periodically along the drill string. Prior to wired drill pipe, if there was a problem discovered in drilling, drillers often had to pull everything out to diagnose a problem. Wired drill pipe is sort of like the difference in breaking down in the middle of a highway versus driving and your check engine light comes on and you take it to a mechanic before it becomes a real issue. Bottom line, it saves time. And as we know, time is money. So, just to catch you up so far, Eirik works for DBS, which stands for Downhole Broadband Solutions, which also falls under MD Totco. And MD Totco, I know, it can be a lot to keep track of. That was actually the first question I had for Eirik. How do you make something so complex easier to understand?
Yeah, so we want our system to be as simple as, somebody who doesn't have any drilling experience, just come in and understand this is what you're delivering. So we are basically drilling a hole. And I was told that in the beginning of my career, you're drilling a hole, it's easy. Well, we all know that it's fluid dynamics, it's temperature modeling, it's rock mechanics. All of that, we just need to gather the information, try to automate and visualize so that anyone can understand what you're actually doing.
So once you have wired drill pipe, you need somewhere to inspect, maintain, and repair it. It just so happens our next stop is Tuboscope, home of the only team certified in exactly that. Mats brought us by the facility and introduced us to the general manager of Norway Tuboscope, Ove Sorheim. As he showed us around the shop, he shared a little on what makes his team best suited for this project.
Because we are completed. We have everything here. We have the machinery, we have the inspection, we have the hard bending, we have the wire. I think there's few others that have all that on one site, so that's special. But like the end customer, like Aker BP, they just see NOV. But we are in Norway. We work close together with the like MD Totco, Tuboscope, and Intellisurf. So when Aker BP, they just see NOV. So we have to be like this all the time to fulfill the demands from the customers.
That closeness amongst the different groups is something we saw firsthand while we were there. Their products and services are closely related functionally, but also geographically, which, as it turns out, really matters. In a moment, I'm going to take you to another facility, just down the road in Stavanger. But first, Mats pulled us into a cramped little hallway to introduce us to another very important member of the team. Someone who, you know what, I'm going to let Mats take this one.
So this is Oddbjørn. He's heading up the downhole facility in Norway, covering the North Sea and the Norwegian operations, and our biggest supporter. and best contributor and best business partner, and he's so awesome. He's very handsome as well.
Well, thanks, man.
But it's the way it's the way we operate is probably the way I would like all of our intercompany partners to work. Seamlessly, smooth. No issues. If there's anything, just let's meet and discuss and work it out.
Just keep it simple. I mean, we just want to have a target to deliver. I mean, we can give us a date and give us a time where we need to deliver. That's what I need to be able to deliver.
He wants a heads up, to do planning and stuff.
We can't. Everything's a bit easier, Mats, when you do a bit of planning. As long as we have a heads up.
He can handle a curveball.
Well, we have to with you.
So together with our pipe, our tools, Spiker's tools, and his tools, hey, there you go. That's your string. Mm-hmm. And then we have one face to the customer.
If you're like me, you might have just heard the name Spiker and thought, whoa. We have 80s rock stars working at NOV? And while I can't promise shoulder-length feathered hair, platform leather boots, or studded jackets, I promise that our IntelliServe facility, led by Jan Erik Spiker, is just as cool.
So welcome, this is IntelliServe Norway.
Nice.
Yeah? Green and nice. So the IntelliServe, so the technology that was developed by IntelliServe, we've set it up in a way where IntelliServe is now the provider that services, maintains, and also certifies the other NOV entities to repair and maintain this equipment. So Tuboscope Inspection is certified by IntelliServe to maintain and wire the pipe. And if there's any issues on the rigs or anything going on, we will go in together with them in RCA to see what was the reason for the fault. Is it internal? Is it the component? So we can relay this information back to IntelliServe Engineering, and they can modify if there's any modifications or if we have to increase our span on training. So IntelliServe is basically the company in the behind the scenes that basically is responsible for the system working, and we have to redesign it if something's wrong, or we have to help MDT or Tuboscope make it so we do a better job if we find issues.
While I had both Spiker and Mats together, I wanted to get their thoughts on the overall collaboration of all the business units involved on the Aker BP deal. Here's what they had to say.
Us together, we've been making this work. And that is something that MD Totco, Tuboscope, and IntelliServe have really perfected. The biggest key to it working is to basically streamline who does what, where does the tooling go, how do we communicate, what is the lead time of that communication, and what is your end goal. Another thing is the ability to jump on something and having your inventory and everything there when the customer really needs something right away. That's the most important thing, I think, and I think that's the most important thing we provide for you, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's one front to the customer.
Yeah, one front. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the big change with IntelliServe Norway was the ability to do stuff locally, and then he's always supporting on local manufacturing where lead times it's gone from a lot to a lot less.
Yeah.
So it makes everything easier, right?
Exactly. Let's act as one, but have one, like he says, one point of contact for the customer. The customer's not interested in having to deliver stuff everywhere. It's interested in, okay, I'm giving you this back. I want it back working. One-stop shop. If one-stop shop is 3 location, at least it's one-stop shop where you're talking to one person.
One-stop shop. That's what this team is providing at its most base level. Yes, it's phenomenal technology. Yes, it's strategy. But at its core, we're providing the customers with simplicity. And why is that simplicity so critical? Here's Mats again.
I think that what we've done with the wire pipe business is something that it wasn't a thing in NOV Norway ever. We were all visiting the same client. It was like 12 different account managers for the same client, and now we're one. It's DBS holding a contract, which gives him business, Odd Bjørn business in downhole Spiker in Telserv. That's it. They just invoice us. So it's and even now we're gonna Rig will be invoicing us as well for the Aker BP in-house people, because it will be people from their side as well to get that buy-in from both segments, yeah, which you need. I see.
Speaking of rig technologies, it's time to talk about those data actioners I mentioned earlier. Data's importance comes from its usefulness. And Novos, full name Novos Reflexive Drilling System, squeezes every last drop of usefulness from the data that DBS gathers. It does this by automating repetitive drilling activities using collected data. In turn, this gives drillers the double whammy of optimizing drilling programs and being able to focus on bigger picture tasks like process execution and safety. To explain this more, meet Morten.
So my name is Morten Ørevik. I'm working in the Novos team, or the drilling automation team, so trying to automate all the drilling operations on our NOV rigs. So Novos is trying to automate the drilling process and basically helping the driller to stop clicking all these buttons and pulling the joysticks and kind of doing all this automatically, right? And we've been doing that for years. And we've been automating it for years. Now we're doing it way faster than a human being can do, which really is a big part of the business case for automating it. There's no point of automating the drilling if it's not faster than a human. It needs to be faster and safer, right? And tying in the drilling automation part with all the data that we can get from the wired pipe, I think that is the next step. And there's a reason why we haven't done that yet, because it's not easy, right? But I think we're at a maturity level now on both the data side and the automation side where we can combine these efforts and kind of accumulate value out of that. So I think that can be fun.
All right, so Novos just automates the drilling. Sounds easy, right? Trick question. It isn't. There are a ton of tasks and processes that take place on a rig when you start thinking about all of the little data points across all of the different things that need to take place in a specific and unique order. And then you add in personnel on the rig, weather and downhole conditions, and I think you get the picture. So how does the Novos team do it?
So we have this saying, every time we make a new feature in Novos, we try to focus on the lowest hanging fruit. So what can have the maximum value output, but the least amount of work for us to finalize, right? So, and we have this internal joke in the office, we do things not because they're easy, but because we thought they were easy and they're super complex, right? They always end up being more complex than we thought. And we've learned from that, and we always go back to the client. Once the feature is developed, we go through everything of the design with at least 2 or 3 clients, land and offshore, make sure we have this right on paper, and then we run through it in a simulator. We show them how this is working. Are we on the right path or not before we put it to the field? So it's really about communication, making sure that we are on the right track during the engineering phase and not after we've developed it and it's all completed.
We do things not because they're easy, but because we thought they were, and turns out they're super complex. Nothing to add. Just wanted to make sure y'all heard that too. So good. And how does this all tie back to Aker BP?
It's all about communication. And we need to make sure that doing this with Aker BP is part of this process when we develop new features, and also when we're doing the day-to-day operation. And I think having this partnership agreement with them will help us to do that on a day-to-day basis, not on a month-by-month basis, right? So hopefully it comes with a lot of communication investments. We have to put a lot of time into that, but I'm hoping that it will provide higher value products out of that conversation. And back to what Mats was saying, we're not trying to make something custom for Aker BP. I mean, that's too expensive. We have to make something that we can scale up and deliver fleet-wide. And that's the complete idea with Novos, is that we build something that has value for as many as possible of our operational fleet.
After talking to Morten, it was time to say goodbye Stavanger and hello Kristiansand. Just a short but scenic train ride away, Kristiansand sits on the west coast of Norway and is home to several of our rig facilities. If you haven't been to these offices before, let me paint you this picture. You've just grabbed a coffee and are settling down at your desk. You look out your window and see the Norwegian North Sea coastline. Birds flying peacefully, trees beautifully swaying in the mountains, waves gently crashing on the shore. Y'all, I can't make this up. Hands down, this is my dream office location. Sorry about that, got carried away. Back to the story. The last team member I have to introduce you to is Alf, here to explain a little more on how the controls at the top utilize the data from downhole.
So, Alf Fredvik is my name. I am product line director for the control technologies in rig technology. Within NOV, we have different business units. One business unit is focusing on what's happening downhole, and we in rig are focusing on the surface equipment. But if you think about it, the surface equipment is the equipment controlling what's happening downhole, so that's where the top drive is and the mud pump and the draw work. And to understand what's happening downhole when sitting in the chair and driving is essential. And that's really where these two technologies meet, because the wellbore wire drill pipe tools can give all the data real time of what's happening. And by using that real-time data to automate the control of the rig, the surface equipment, then you can avoid making mistakes, protect the well better, drill straighter, more control of trajectory, and all those things that matters downhole.
We've talked a lot in this podcast so far about the importance of collaboration. And Alf had a really interesting angle on why, in his view, it's so critical in this project with Aker BP.
And that's what we've heard that from companies or our customers a long time, that it's so hard to understand NOV. You have so many things, you have everything. If you could just align all you have, you could be so valuable. And this is where NOV is so great. We have so much technology, and if we look at it on kind of a global scale, that's what we do when we are having these detailed discussions. I believe that what Aker BP is able to do is they are fostering this climate of openness and collaboration, and it will be super fun to see what kind of things that can bring. They see problems, we see solutions to, and vice versa. So that's going to be super interesting. And also, I think because Aker BP is so focused on digitalization, that's a super good fit with what we are trying to do. We also believe that automation, robotics, data, insights, all that is the next step, and establishing a rig fleet with that capability and see what that can bring in terms of better KPIs, lower cost and all. It's really looking forward to it.
By this point in the podcast, you've heard from a lot of the NOV side of this collaboration. We talked to Mats, Eirik, Ova, Oddbjorn, Spiker, Morten, and Alf. However, there's one name that we've said a lot that you haven't quite met yet.
Aker BP.
Aker BP.
Aker BP.
Without further ado, I'd like to take you along to a meeting in person at the Aker BP office, where we spoke to leaders on their side to hear a little bit about why this collaboration is so critical for them. As we settled in, the first thing I wanted to ask Eamon Condon, the VP of Drilling and Wells Alliance and support team of Aker BP, is what first drew him to an alliance with NOV? What was that spark or flame that made him and his team know they wanted to partner with us?
I mean, to start with, it's like any relationship, right? We had to do a little bit of dating. Right, so we had to do this little thing of just meeting each other and checking each other out and just trying to, quite frankly, find out the attractiveness for each party on what could be in this. So we had the foundation of the business was there, right? We had, the multi-million dollars of transactions were possible across our companies, but we did have to have the conversations. Could we create an environment that would be conducive to bringing both parties together and doing something really wonderful that would help both? Because one thing is to sell capital products to a market to put on rigs and then they're sold. That's kind of one business model. This was something very different. We were looking for a relationship to co-develop solutions and improvements of products that would benefit us as an operator and our alliance partners and would benefit you as a fantastic service provider.
Here's Arfin Grote, Chief Drilling and Wells Engineer Digital Execution, on how our teams are coming together on these projects.
Digital is a key element in the strategy for Aker BP to be able to achieve transformation. And for sure, wired pipe is a key enabler for us to start to consume, the sensors we have on the tools, our long-string measurement is getting more and more advanced. And rather just reading memory and doing interpretation after the runs, this is a key enabler for us to do very different operational aspects of it. So we're putting together a team together with you guys, where we'll work together to solve some of the digital challenges, how to get the data to flow as we are in operation into the different tools and interpretations that we're using. And I think that's for moving forward, that's going to be a lot of, exciting stories to share to the industry and to the market. What we've been able to achieve with this technology as an enabler to fetch data that we don't have access to today.
After all the conversations we had on our trip, I noticed one theme kept popping up. It's that there really was no one hero on this story. No one person jumped in and saved the day and had this fantastic idea that solved all of our problems. It truly was a team effort. Every single person you heard on this episode today was integral in making this project and this collaboration a success. Even Aker BP, our client, their commitment and buy-in on this collaboration was game-changing for a team looking for somebody to partner with.
I mean, the people is everything, everything, right? So having the strong team is to be able to get to a conclusion, get the real benefits of what we as a NOV can do. Then you need to have smart people, you need to have people that is collaborative, you need to have people which is visionary, and you need people that has a broad understanding to see all these opportunities. So I would say the people is everything.
If you are on a team or part of a team that you think is showing the DNA of NOV, we want to tell your story. Check out www.nov.com/DNA to learn how you can nominate your team and to see show notes, articles, and pictures from every episode we cover.